My father, my uncles, all of them are ministers. All right. I am not wearing white and blue by mistake. I wanted to make sure that everything that I do tonight is done in purity. Now, y'all are asking, why? Why? Why would you, Tasha K, expose your friend, someone that you ate with, had phone calls with, had around your children? Lord, you don't understand how much that scares me. Pastor, prophet, or what? What is it? My heart beating fast right now just thinking about it. That I got a son that was in the presence of an alleged predator. And I ask you, because that's a very good question, what type of friend would I be if I didn't expose him? Like, what type of friend would I be to know these things, to accept these things, and sweep them under the church rug as elders have been doing for years? Is that what you call friendship? No. Explain to me what friendship is. Please, somebody. Before we play this very disturbing, very detailed, very graphic account, just account of 15-year-old Lavontre Andrews, who Dr. Larry Reid Live has acknowledged in court paperwork that has since been dismissed by Larry. That has since been dismissed because he uses the law and the church law to bully, intimidate, and in my opinion, prey on people who are financially weak, spiritually weak, mentally weak, vulnerable, and underage weak.
I think I always had an eyebrow up about the company he kept that would be from his past. So it would be these guys. He was like, "Oh yeah, this is my best friend. I've been knowing for all this time," and they would come around, and they would be really feminine guys, and that always stuck out to me. And then anytime we would meet new people, immediately he would be, "Oh yeah, he's gay." He would start saying and after a while, for me, it became like, yo, why is everybody gay? Why do you feel like everybody's gay? And why is that the first thought? It's immediately you go into their sexuality. When he would meet people, and because he does gospel music, and so we had these musicals and performances and stuff, and he would go into that oh yeah, he's gay, this person is gay.
But let's go because I know I don't want to. Are you comfortable with going into the acts?
Oh, that's why we here. I've done the work. And I think that's a really important piece to discuss for several reasons.
Okay.
One of them is this narrative that he's trying to create about me being so angry. Okay. With my whole reason for this, even me doing this interview, he feels like it's because I'm angry with him, and he described this in his paperwork that he submitted. He said my reason, I think the way he described it was smear campaign. I think that's the verbiage he used. He said it's because I'm angry that he cut me out of his life, and I'm so angry about that I'm just saying all these terrible things because I'm just so upset that he cut me out of his life. Bro, you are You're insane,
makes
bro.
no
Like, you are insane.
sense.
He said, I'm doing all this because I'm upset that he cut me out of his life. Are you crazy?
Makes no
That's just like, Tasha, when I tell you, I was upset at one point. I'll say this. I was upset that what happened.
That was going to be my question.
I was upset about that.
Are you well within your right to be upset?
No, for sure. And I'm going to tell you why.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you why. I was upset because for years, I wasn't able to acknowledge it for what it was.
You hit it.
I thought it was something different. And not even hiding it. I was like the acts themselves, because of how they presented themselves to me by him, I didn't acknowledge it for being what it was. I didn't acknowledge it for being as terrible as it was.
What do you mean?
I think a large part of why I felt angry is coming into the understanding of what happened. So I was like, all this time, I've been blind to this, right? And so because and people could probably wonder, like, how are you blind to sexual things? How are you able to see it different from what it is? Is what it is. You know what I'm saying? And I would rationalize in the same way to an extent if I was hearing it objectively.
Wow.
But I think what you have to consider is where it happened, how it happened, when it happened. Where it happened was in a church space. It's a religious space. Why it happened is because of the absence of my dad. Where it happened is it happened in a father-son dynamic. That's where it happened, right? The dynamic wasn't you're my lover. That wasn't the dynamic at all. The dynamic was, I'm your father, and this is actually my way of protecting you. So this was what was communicated to me was, this is what I'm being led to do by God. Like, give it like the spiritual basis that this is my way of covering you spiritually. And so, the way it began was a conversation. He said, yo, I need to talk to you, and he said, my feeling is you're either going to be gay or you're going to be a male that manipulates women. So he said, it's a womanizer. Either you're going to be gay or you're going to be a womanizer. And at the time, like in my mind, gay, I'm thinking like, I'm not going to be gay. What are you talking about? Womanizer, that's possible.
Like you're a teenager.
Yeah, I'm young.
Underage.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm still a teenager.
Okay.
And in my mind, I'm like, I'm not gonna be gay. Womanizer is possible. Like my dad was a womanizer. I have a reference for that. In my mind, gay, I'm not gonna be gay. But because of who said it, right? So like Reid became a large part of my life. So he was literally like a dad. Like at one point I drove his car to school, you know what I'm saying? Like regularly, like it was my transportation to school. He taught me a lot about how I should dress, daily stuff. Like I remember he would sit me down and show me how to keep my receipt book. Like, and when I'm keeping a receipt book for your bank and just those kind of things, talking to me about spiritual things, and it created this, like I said, a father-son dynamic. Like there were even times where he would have to preach and he would want me to drive him. It would just be me and him. And he has some type of preaching engagement and I would drive him to the engagement like I'm his adjutant kind of thing. I'm holding his bags and, that kind of thing in church world. So it became that. It was a very father-son dynamic in my mind, right? And the vulnerability of that is what made those moments confusing, because, like I said, all of it came from a spiritual basis. He was like, yo, this is what I feel like I need to do to protect you? Because he was like, it's gonna happen anyway. He said either you're gonna be gay or you gonna be a womanizer. So this is my way of sheltering that and kind of like helping you along to make sure you end in the right spot. I remember him telling me that he wanted to do these tests on me. And he said, I want to do these tests because he was saying like, he said he had some tests. Actually, because he asked me, he said that I think I was gay. He asked me if I thought I was gay. And I said, no, I don't think I'm gay. And then he was like, are you sure? I said, yeah, I'm pretty sure. And he kept probing, right? And like the way that he was probing was like, should I be considering if I'm gay? You know, I'm thinking that to myself, like the way the way the questions was going.
Yeah.
Like, should I be thinking like or considering that more? Like, what you getting at? You know? And so he was like, well, I have some tests I can do that would help you determine if you're gay. And because by the end of the questioning, I'm like, yo, am I gay? Like, no, I don't know. Like, now I don't know. I'm trying to like, am I gay? Like,
yeah,
I might be. Like, I'm trying to figure it out, right? Because like how he's questioning me. And so he said, I got some tests I can do. I'm like, well, shit, I need to know. Because I don't think I'm gay, but if you think I might be, let's figure it out. So,
okay.
you know, let's get through it. It was like, because my mind, I was so impressionable at the time. So this is part of why I was angry at the time. I was like, yo, why didn't you know? Why didn't you know? So I had to go through that whole process too, you know, of like even forgiving myself. Yeah. Because like the version of who I am today, that could never happen.
What was the test? Okay,
so it took him like a week to do it, a week or two. It took him a little bit to do it.
So he let you fester on it.
Yeah, and I'm like,
Can we get to this?
Yeah, I'm like, bruh. And I would say it in front of people, like in a way that he would know what I'm talking about. Like, bro, when are we gonna do these tests, man? I need to know. Like, what you talking about? Like, when we gonna do them? Like, I'm not knowing what you're talking about.
It's funny now, but as a child, I would not be laughing. You're a child.
Yeah. It's thinking back, it's comical now, for sure. It's definitely got some humor to it. But I was dead serious, like, man, like I need to know. You know what I'm saying? And so he was like, all right. Finally, he called. So he called me to his room.
Now, were you living with him?
Yeah, I was living with him at the time. Okay. Yep, I was living with him at the time. Because there was a few times where I moved in, moved out, moved in, moved out. It was like a couple times that happened. But this was one of the spaces.
Before you get into the test, what made you move in with him?
So
what was that? How did that even transpire?
So initially, I moved in with him because the young lady that I ended up having the sexual relationship with, we were in the same house, and so they wanted me to move with him, so me and her went in the same house together.
So they found out about you guys.
Yeah.
But why weren't you staying with your mom?
My mom at the time, she lived not far, but it was like a situation like when she came to the church, she was really intent about me having positive male role models. Okay. At the time, she's really intentful about making sure like, okay. And they basically told her like, we got him. Like, well, we'll make sure he's good. And she was okay.
So you just ended up just staying over there and then it just turned into...
And then I ended up living there.
So let's talk about these tests that he wanted to run on you to see if you were gay or going to be a womanizer.
Yeah.
So what would it describe the tests? Okay, so he had me come in his room and he had a blanket. He was wrapping a blanket. It was a zebra printed blanket, black and white zebra printed blanket. Zebra print, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, he ended up wrapping the blanket, which he actually, years later, ended up giving to me. He gave me the blanket years later because he said it was the blanket that he prayed in. And he was like, yeah.
But he was wrapped up naked in it.
He was wrapped up naked in the blanket. I just like, when I was preparing for this, I remembered that. I forgot. Okay. When I was preparing for this, I said, yo, he gave me that blanket. This was the same blanket. Gave me the blanket. That's a whole other something. But
So yeah, he told me to come in his room, and he had a wife beater on. I remember like seeing the wife beater, but he had the blanket wrapped around him, and he told me to take off all of my clothes. And I said, okay. I'm blindly listening because I just trust him this much. I trust him that much. I'm just like, whatever he's saying, like I'm just go with it. So he told me to take off all of my clothes, and he told me to sit down beside him. And he was sitting in the Indian style, and he pulled his computer. It was an old Mac computer.
Okay.
And he put porn on. He put on gay porn, and he told me to watch it. And immediately when I saw what it was, I remember like physically feeling sick. I almost threw up. And I looked down. I was like, yo, I can't even look at that. I remember him laughing. Like he laughed. He was like, well, he's crazy. I was like, it was physically making me sick. I'm like, I can't look at that. I can't look at it.
And you were sitting there butt naked.
I was sitting there naked.
Beside him, and he wrapped it, and y'all were on the floor.
I was sitting on the floor. He had a black futon, and he was sitting right in front of the futon on the floor. And we both are like our back up against the futon. And he pulled out this computer and put this gay porn on. And what he was trying to do is to see if my body would respond to seeing two men together. It transitioned. That moment transitioned. Like I said, it went from me just doing the spinning thing where he would jack off to now he's physically touching me. And so
he would touch you while he was jacking his dick?
Yeah.
Like feel on you?
Yeah.
Like your...
Yeah, my butt. He would start touching on my penis and like, yeah. It transitioned into that. Then it transitioned more. The address on the police report, like the 3216 Olusty. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people have kind of concluded that that's the only place it happened. It isn't. It's not the only place it happened at. He lived at a house, and what I'm about to describe now is where this happened at. It's called Grace Park. I don't know if it's the same name now, but it's called Grace. At the time it was Grace Park in Morrisville. And but he told me to lay on the bed this time. I wasn't on the floor. Every other time I was on the floor. So he wanted me to lay on the bed. So I'm laying across the bed, and he's doing this massage. Lights off, right? He's doing this massage, and in the middle of the massage, he starts sucking my dick in the middle of the massage. And I said, I remember, like I jumped back, like, oh, like what are you doing? Moving up. Yeah. I jumped back, and he was like, oh, like same scenario. He minimized the moment because for me, I'm like, this is a violation. Like what? You never did this. Like, what you doing? And because of who he was to me, I was able to bring my mind to a point. And I'm like, okay, this is Reid. It's okay. This is Reid. It's okay. Let's calm down. You know what I'm saying? And that was the first time that happened. It was supposed to be a church, and he gave me oral sex, laying on his bed, and like I said, he gave it like this spiritual thing. Like he made it a spiritual thing. They gave it a spiritual thing. Like, that's all right. Like you're, cause he was tired. Some reason he didn't want to be at the church. And so what the interaction that he and I was having, it's like I'm doing the prophet a service because, you know, he didn't want to be at church or for whatever reason. And me being with him that night was helping him.
A couple of years back, I had a bad reaction to some cheap.
To like minimize it. So I'm like, yeah, like, okay, I'm doing him a favor. Like I'm able to like be of value to him. Like I'm protecting him. Like, it was that kind of thing. Right. And yeah, so that was the first time it happened. And then from there, it was just anytime he was feeling away, that's what he would initiate.
Now, did you eventually climax doing those?
No, that happened. Yeah, I did.
In his mouth?
I think I did one time in his mouth.